What if you intentionally set out to make messy art instead of a polished piece? A messy painting or sketch carry more growth than a blank page. I struggled with perfectionism for years, and it not only kills the joy of making art, but it really does nothing to guide you towards your true potential, because you're not allowing yourself to be loose and flow in your art exploration. You're not really moving, you are stuck without even knowing it. And I didn't know it myself. Even though I love my more polished watercolour portraits you often see on my channel, and I'm not going to give up on them, I do not love them more than making art more impulsively without worrying about the result. Let's say art is a garden. There's not only one path into that garden, and I want to explore different ways to get there. And I don't want to be pinned to a specific style, because to me that is just nonsense. And I said that in last week's video, it can be a prison. This month I'm going to tackle subjects I'm not used to drawing or painting with mediums I have hardly ever used. This way I will have no expectations, and I will finally feel free and feel the excitement and joy again. And I'm not working in my watercolour sketchbooks on purpose, because I want to be able to go in and use an eraser, I want to freehand my drawings, and I want the paper to buckle under the wet paint. Instant relief. Let's look up the definition of art. The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. For their beauty or emotional power. Personally, I think that emotional power has more weight, both in the case of the viewer and in the case of the artist, who is being authentic and passionate in their expression rather than meticulous and fastidious. Do you agree? It took me so long to get back to where I started out when I was a kid, exploring mark making on stacks of copy paper my father brought back from the office. I really wish it had happened sooner. I had been feeling for a long time that something was missing. I've spoken about this on here, and I feel that one of the stepping stones was incorporating cheap or cheaper sketchbooks into my practice. The obsession of not ruining expensive watercolour paper, which is very delicate and precious, was spoiling the fun and spontaneity, and I was totally not seeing it. But that can be just one case scenario, and your reason might be completely different from mine. Off the top of my head, I think that one of the most common reasons is comparison, setting the bar too high right from the start, or forgetting to step away from your work for a while before you judge it. Yes, judge it, because let's face it, we all look at our own work like the harshest, meanest of art critiques. That's where and when making messy art will liberate you. If you can't face a messy sketchbook, allow yourself to have a messy page or a messy scrap of paper. Surely you can do that. And once you've done that, that will become your very own stepping stone. And please share it with me throughout the month of February. You can tag me on Instagram at the handle Drawings in a Drawer, all in one word, or you can share it on the Facebook group Fiona Di Pinto's Watercolour Students. I'll leave all this information below. I really would love to see your messy art. Whatever messy art looks like to you, because it also depends on how much perfectionism you need to let go of. So it might be baby steps in the beginning. A good starting point is drawing, doodling, or painting over a page you have pre-prepped with some paint like gouache, watercolour or acrylic crayons, whatever you have at hand. You know, when I think of an artist who gave himself permission to make a mess, that's Van Gogh. And I think that because he did that, he then ended up creating work that is still, to this day, the most emotionally powerful and allows us to connect with his deepest soul, his longings, his fears, his love, his dreams, long after his death. Okay, we're not comparing ourselves to Van Gogh, but sometimes the process is the most memorable part of the artwork, and in his work, it is so visible, don't you think? Let's take a step backwards and think about sketchbooks. I don't know if anyone else watching this has always had a longing for books, illustrated books, books that told a story in any way, shape or form. I always have, but as an adult it felt so indulgent. What was I going to do, sit around and draw like a little girl, like a child? I felt embarrassed. I don't see anyone doing that here. I see it a little more often in the UK. To me, it seems that it's just not a thing most of the time. And I think a lot of us would like to take a sketchbook along and sit and sketch, but we feel embarrassed. As adults, we even feel embarrassed in our own homes because sometimes it still holds that childish connotation. At least if we were making this perfect classical art studies, it would be justified, right? Oh gosh, what a load of nonsense. I have to remind myself of that time and time again. Why is playing Candy Crush more acceptable? I would like to know. Keeping a sketchbook practice is one of the highest acts of self-love and self-care I can think of. And through my own personal experience, I have come to understand that taking the messy path into the garden of art is the most authentic way to tap into our creativity and let go of all pressure. Let's use mediums we are not familiar with. I used gouache cakes in this video by Caran d'Ache. I'm not used to working with gouache at all, so I approached these spreads knowing that very likely they would not turn out looking great. I actually found that gouache in cakes sits in between watercolour and gouache in tubes, and since I know watercolour pretty well, I was able to wing it more than I expected. Pleasant surprise. But the joy I felt and the dopamine boost I get when I even only look at my closed sketchbook sitting on my desk, now that I have given myself permission to actually play in them, has no equal. And the key to unlock a consistent and enjoyable sketchbook practice is to go in with the intention of making a mess. Otherwise, you might never properly embrace it and you'd be missing out on something magical. And please take my word for it. This is why I'm dedicating the whole month of February, starting on Tuesday, to being messy, in my own time and with my community on Patreon. We will be sketching and painting from references that come from you. We've created a dedicated Pinterest board. Happy places and happy moments, photos from your life that make your heart sing because of how you connect with them. A lot of them are not subjects I'm used to painting or sketching, so I am encouraging everyone, myself included, to walk into this with a very open mind and with intention to have fun and make a mess and possibly use that art supply that you bought and never even tested. because the goal here is to lift our spirits through art, not to put ourselves into a tight little corner of self-judgment and creative paralysis. Fun and play are going to be the key words. We co-sketch every Tuesday and paint twice a month. So, of course, if you want to join us, I will leave the link to my Patreon down below in the description box so you can come and make a glorious mess with us. And you'll probably also feel a little bit happier because sketchbooks and art communities are happy places. At least our one is. And just because I allowed myself to make a mess, I have discovered these amazing gouache cakes. I didn't even know they existed. I heard about them in another YouTube video, and I had so much fun experimenting with them. I had tried gouache before, and I really wasn't very good at it at all. But I set the intention of using something that wasn't my medium to lower the bar and lower my expectations. I didn't even think I was going to use them to paint. I was only going to swatch them. That was what I thought. But then I thought, what the heck? Let's give it a try. I think that the what the heck approach should be taken much more often, as it's the most healthy one. I'm definitely going to be walking down the what the heck path into the garden of art much more regularly from now on, because, as I said in the beginning of this video, making a mess carries more growth than leaving the page blank. That is all from me for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next Sunday. Bye for now.